The massive screen in the Galactic Council's central chamber flickered with emergency alerts. Thousands of alien representatives watched in horror as another battle fleet disappeared from their tactical display. High Counselor 6427, their most experienced leader, gripped the edges of their floating platform with all four of their arms. "We have lost the Kraxan Defense Force," a computerized voice announced. "Total casualties, 42,000 crew members. Fleet destruction rate, 89 seconds. The chamber erupted in panic. Species that had never agreed on anything were now united in their fear. The crystalline entities had destroyed their 13th fleet this cycle, and nothing seemed capable of stopping them. Silence. Zix 427's voice boomed through the chamber. Their bioluminescent spots pulsed with stress, casting shifting shadows across their gray skin. "We must consider all options now." A small, spider-like alien scuttled forward on their platform. "Even that asterisk option." The chamber grew quiet. Everyone knew what the spider alien meant. Earth. The planet they had dismissed as a backwater world of primitive beings when they discovered it 30 years ago. "They still use combustion engines in some places," someone protested. "Their ships are practically Stone Age technology." But Zix 427 had been studying the humans secretly. While other council members mocked Earth's pollution problems and their constant struggles with waste management, they had noticed something interesting. Humans had a way of turning their biggest problems into unexpected solutions. "Send the call," Zix 427 ordered, their voice heavy with both hope and embarrassment. "Request their aid." The message was transmitted across space, carefully translated into Earth's major languages. The Council expected to wait days for a response. It came in hours. Admiral Sarah Chen sat in her office at the Global Space Conservation Headquarters, reading the alien distress signal for the third time. Around her, the walls displayed live feeds from Earth's orbital cleanup operations, thousands of small ships collecting space debris, processing old satellites, and recycling abandoned stations. Her phone buzzed. "Admiral," her assistant's voice came through. "The United Earth government has made their decision. They're giving you operational command for the response mission." Chen smiled. She had already started planning when she first read the message. Where others saw a military crisis, she saw a pattern, a problem that reminded her of Earth's own struggles with runaway nanite contamination in the 2080s. "Send the reply," she ordered. "Tell them we're coming. And Jack, start calling in the conservation fleet." Across Earth's orbit, ships began changing course. They weren't sleek battleships or powerful destroyers. These were the workhorses of Earth's Space Force. Garbage collectors, recycling processors, and debris management vessels. Ships that had spent decades cleaning up humanity's messes in space. The Galactic Council received Earth's response with confusion. Instead of battleships, Earth was sending what appeared to be their waste management fleet. The Council's tactical analysts were baffled. Some suggested it was an insult. Others thought the humans had misunderstood the threat. But on her flagship, the ESS Recycler, Admiral Chen reviewed her fleet's capabilities with satisfaction. Hundreds of ships, each carrying technology refined through centuries of dealing with humanity's greatest challenge, managing our impact on space and the environment. The aliens had sent their strongest warriors, their most advanced warships, and failed. Now it was time to show them why sometimes the best solution wasn't the most obvious one. Sometimes, to solve a problem, you needed people who specialized in cleaning up messes. "Conservation fleet," she broadcast to her ships, "prepare for departure. Let's show the galaxy how Earth takes out its trash." Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the ESS Recycler, watching her unusual fleet gather. Unlike the shiny warships of the Galactic Council, Earth's vessels looked like working trucks in space. Their hulls were scratched from years of collecting debris, and their shapes were built for function rather than beauty. "Status report," she called out to her crew. Lisa Martinez, her chief engineer, looked up from her screen. She had spent 15 years developing better ways to process space junk. All ships report ready, Admiral. Though the aliens keep asking if we're sending our actual military after this. Chen smiled. Her fleet carried no weapons in the traditional sense. Instead, they had the most advanced recycling and material processing systems humanity had ever built. Each ship was essentially a floating factory, capable of breaking down and repurposing almost anything they found in space. "Show me the fleet numbers," Chen ordered. The main screen lit up with their forces. 200 debris collection vessels, 150 material processing ships, 100 environmental assessment crafts, 50 orbital cleanup specialists. The aliens had expected battleships. Instead, they got garbage trucks. On the Galactic Council's command station, High Counselor 6427 watched Earth's fleet with growing concern. "These humans," they said to their advisors, "they must be insane." Or perhaps we translated their message wrongly. A hologram appeared, showing detailed scans of the human ships. "Their vessels have almost no armor," one advisor reported. "Their strongest ships would crumple against even our civilian transports. The crystalline entities will destroy them in seconds." But something caught 6427's eye. The scans showed incredibly complex processing systems inside each human ship. Systems that made their most advanced recycling technology look primitive. Why would garbage collectors need such sophisticated equipment? Back on the ESS Recycler, Chen gathered her senior staff. They weren't traditional military officers. Instead, she had engineers, environmental scientists, and waste management experts. People who had spent their careers solving Earth's pollution problems. "The aliens think we're weak," Chen told them, pointing to the latest scans of the crystalline entities. "But look at these patterns. What do you see?" Martinez studied the data. "They're growing, not just destroying ships. They're processing the material, like those old nanite swarms we use to clean ocean plastic." Chen nodded. "Exactly. Everyone else sent warriors to fight these things. We're sending people who understand how to control and redirect out-of-control cleaning systems." The room buzzed with excitement as her team began seeing the problem in a new light. These weren't just enemies to be destroyed. They were malfunctioning tools that needed to be managed and repurposed. "Conservation fleet," Chen broadcast to all ships, "set course for the Arcturus sector. The aliens may call us their weakest hope, but we've spent centuries learning how to fix environmental disasters. Now we're going to show them why Earth's garbage collectors might be exactly what they need." As the fleet moved out, Chen received one last message from the Galactic Council. "Admiral," it read, "our analysis suggests your fleet has a 0% chance of survival. Please reconsider this suicide mission." Chen sent back a simple reply. When humanity started cleaning Earth's oceans, they said that was impossible too. Sometimes the biggest problems don't need the strongest weapons. They need the right tools. The conservation fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving behind a very confused Galactic Council. Earth's weakest fleet was headed to face an enemy that had destroyed the galaxy's strongest armies, armed with nothing but garbage collection tools and centuries of experience cleaning up humanity's messes. The ESS Recycler dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Arcturus sector. The ship's sensors immediately lit up with warnings. Ahead of them, massive crystalline shapes drifted through space, glowing with an eerie blue light. "Size comparison?" Admiral Chen asked, her voice steady despite the intimidating sight. "Each crystal structure is about the size of an old aircraft carrier," Martinez reported from her station. "And they're growing. Every piece of debris they absorb makes them bigger." The entire bridge crew watched as one of the crystal entities moved toward an abandoned alien warship. The creature wrapped itself around the ship like a glowing web. Within minutes, the warship disappeared, and the crystal grew noticeably larger. "They're not destroying the ships," Chen said, leaning forward. "They're recycling them, just like we do, but much faster." A voice crackled over their communication system. Human vessels. The Galactic Council representatives sounded panicked. Retreat immediately. You're too close to the entities. Chen ignored the warning. Instead, she ordered, launch the assessment drones. Standard garbage classification protocol. Hundreds of small drones shot out from the conservation fleet's ships. But instead of attacking, they began scanning the crystal entities with the same tools they used to analyze space debris on Earth. The drones circled the creatures, collecting data about their structure and behavior. The crystal entities stopped moving. Admiral, Martine is called out, excitement in her voice. They're responding to our scanning frequencies. These frequencies, they're similar to what we use to deactivate old cleaning nanites. For the first time since they appeared, the crystal entities weren't attacking. They seemed confused by the small drones that treated them like ordinary space garbage instead of enemies. Chen smiled. They recognized the scanning pattern. Because that's what they are. Ancient cleanup tools that went wrong, just like Earth's early environmental disasters. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the crystal entities began moving closer, not to attack, but as if curious about the fleet that spoke their language. Send the modified signal, Chen ordered. This was the signal they used to shut down malfunctioning cleanup drones on Earth. The crystal entities pulsed with light, then dimmed slightly. They didn't shut down, but they stopped growing. It's working, Martinez exclaimed. Their replication process is slowing down. They're responding to our maintenance protocols. The Galactic Council's voice came through again, this time filled with disbelief. Impossible. Those creatures have destroyed our most powerful weapons, and you're controlling them with garbage collection tools. Chen opened a channel to the Council. Not controlling. Communicating. Your weapons spoke the language of destruction. Our tools speak the language of restoration. These aren't monsters. They're broken maintenance systems. As if to prove her point, one of the crystal entities drifted closer to the ESS recycler. Instead of attacking, it aligned itself with the ship's recycling beam, almost like a machine waiting for maintenance. Conservation Fleet, Chen broadcast, begin Phase 2. Prepare the reprogramming protocols. We're not here to destroy these entities. We're here to fix them. The fleet moved into position, their recycling systems powering up. They had found the entity's weakness. They couldn't understand weapons of war, but they recognized tools of reconstruction. Earth's experience with environmental cleanup had given them exactly the right tools for this crisis. The galaxy's greatest threat was about to meet humanity's greatest expertise, fixing the messes that advanced technology left behind. Lisa Martinez hadn't slept in 24 hours. She sat in the ESS recycler's main lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing the crystal entity's structure. Coffee cups littered her desk, and her dark hair was messy from running her hands through it in frustration. Show me the comparison again, she told the computer. 2 images appeared, one of the crystal entities, another of Earth's old ocean cleaning nanites that had gone rogue in the 2080s. Admiral Chen walked into the lab, carrying fresh coffee. Any progress? Martinez nodded excitedly. Look at this pattern. She pointed to the crystal structure. It's almost exactly like our old cleanup systems. These things were probably designed to clear space debris, just like our fleet. But something went wrong, and now they can't tell the difference between garbage and ships. Chen set down the coffee. Can we shut them down? Better. Martinez pulled up a new diagram. We can repurpose them. Remember how we fixed the ocean nanites? We didn't destroy them. We changed their programming using their own recycling protocols. On the main screen, one of the crystal entities floated near their ship, still responding to their basic maintenance signals. It hadn't attacked for hours, but it also hadn't stopped growing completely. The problem is scale, Martinez continued. Our signals are too weak. We need something bigger, something that can. She stopped suddenly, her eyes going wide. Admiral, what if we turned the whole fleet into one giant recycling beam? Chen raised an eyebrow. Is that possible? Martinez was already typing furiously. Each of our ships has recycling systems designed to break down space debris. If we link them together, modify the frequencies. She looked up with a grin. We could create a reprogramming field big enough to affect all the entities at once. Chen hit the fleet-wide comm button. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Begin configuration pattern Delta. We're about to attempt something crazy. The conservation fleet moved into a new formation, their ships arranging themselves in a massive circle. Each vessel extended its recycling arrays, linking their systems together in ways they were never designed for. It's risky, Martins warned. We've never combined our systems like this. The power drain will be enormous. Riskier than letting these things eat their way across the galaxy. Chen asked with a slight smile. The Galactic Council's observation ships watched in confusion. Their sensors couldn't understand what the human fleet was doing. These primitive garbage collectors were attempting something their best scientists hadn't even considered. Power systems linked. A technician reported. All ships reporting ready. Begin the sequence, Chen ordered. A visible beam of energy connected the first two ships, then another and another. Soon the entire fleet was linked by a web of light, their combined recycling fields creating something entirely new. The crystal entities reacted immediately. They moved toward the energy web, drawn by frequencies that spoke to their original programming. The largest entity touched the field first. For a moment, nothing happened. Then its blue glow began to change, shifting to a softer green. It's working. Martin had shouted. The reprogramming is taking hold. Their base code is accepting our modifications. One by one, the crystal entities entered the field. Each one emerged change, their destructive hunger replaced with their original purpose, helping to clean up space. Chen watched as the entities began breaking down actual debris instead of ships. Humanity's garbage collectors had done what the galaxy's strongest weapons couldn't. They had turned a threat into a tool, just as they'd done so many times before on Earth. Send word to the Council, Chen said softly. Tell them we're ready to teach them how to work with these entities instead of fighting them. It's time the galaxy learned about Earth's way of solving problems. The celebration on the ESS recycler lasted exactly 6 hours. Then the alarms started blaring. Admiral, Martinez rushed onto the bridge, her face pale. The entities are changing. On the main screen, the crystal beings they had reprogrammed were shifting. Their gentle green glow was turning back to a harsh blue. Instead of processing space debris, they were starting to break down everything around them again. They're adapting, Chen said quietly, just like Earth's nanites did. The Galactic Council's messages flooded their communications. The human solution has failed. We must retreat and regroup. But Chen noticed something different about the entity's new behavior. Martinez, show me their consumption pattern now compared to before. 2 diagrams appeared side by side. In the first, the entities simply destroyed everything they touched. In the new pattern, they were selective. They're learning, Martins whispered. They're not just consuming randomly anymore. They're choosing specific materials, like they're trying to build something. Chen stood up. They're not just cleanup tools gone wrong. They're an ancient civilization's recycling system that evolved, and we just taught them new tricks. A junior officer spoke up. Admiral, 3 entities have surrounded the Arcturus mining station, but they're not destroying it. They're processing it, turning it into copies of themselves. Chen watched the screens, her mind racing. Earth had faced something similar when their ocean-cleaning nanites started building underwater cities out of plastic waste. The solution then wasn't to destroy them, but to Martinez. Chen called out, remember what we did with the Pacific cleanup incident. When the nanites started building structures, Martinez's eyes widened. We didn't just reprogram them. We recycled them, broke them down into basic components, and rebuilt them to work for us. Chen finished. She hit the fleet-wide comm. All ships, new mission protocol. We're not going to try to reprogram the entities anymore. We're going to recycle them completely. The conservation fleet began to move, their formation changing. This time, instead of creating a reprogramming field, they prepared their ship's most powerful recycling systems, the ones designed to break down the tug. The ESS recycler vibrated as its systems worked at full power. Around it, the entire conservation fleet glowed with energy as they executed Admiral Chen's new plan. They weren't just trying to stop the crystal entities anymore. They were taking them apart. First layer breakdown successful, Martines reported, her fingers dancing across her control panel. The entity's outer shell is responding to our recycling beams. Through the bridge windows, they could see one of the largest crystal entities trapped in their combined recycling field. Its surface was peeling away like layers of an onion, each piece carefully sorted and stored by the fleet's processing systems. "What are they made of?" Chen asked, watching the process with intense focus. "It's incredible," Martines replied. "Some materials we've never seen before, but others." She paused, double-checking her readings. "Others are exactly like the advanced polymers we developed for ocean cleanup. These entities weren't just made to clean space. They were made to evolve and improve themselves." The Galactic Council's observation ships kept their distance, their sensors recording everything. Their previous reports of the primitive human fleet were being rapidly rewritten. "Second layer starting to break down," another officer called out. "But the entity is trying to adapt." The crystal being pulsed with bright blue light, attempting to absorb and repurpose the recycling beams like it had done with every weapon used against it. But this time was different. "They can't adapt to this," Martines explained, excitement in her voice. "Our recycling systems aren't trying to destroy them. We're taking them apart the same way they take apart other ships. We're beating them at their own game." Chen nodded. They understand destruction and absorption, but they've never encountered something that could process them the same way they process others. They don't know how to defend against it. The entity's glow began to fade as more layers were stripped away. Inside its crystalline structure, they could see complex patterns that looked almost like computer circuits. "Their core," Martines shouted. "We're seeing their original programming. It's beautiful." The patterns within the entity weren't random. They told the story of an ancient civilization that had created these beings to clean up their galaxy, just as humanity had created systems to clean Earth's oceans and space. "All ships," Chen broadcast, "focus your beams on the exposed core patterns. Don't destroy them. Copy them. We're not just recycling these entities, we're going to learn from them." The conservation fleet adjusted their beams, carefully recording the ancient programming while continuing to break down the entity's structure. As they worked, the other crystal beings stopped their attack, watching as their largest member was transformed. Hours later, the process was complete. Where the giant crystal entity had been, a cloud of carefully sorted materials now floated, ready to be repurposed. And in the fleet's computers, the entity's core programming had been preserved. "Send the signal to the others," Chen ordered. Martines transmitted a simple message using their recycling frequencies. One by one, the remaining crystal entities approached the fleet. They had witnessed their strongest member being recycled and, following their basic programming, recognized the humans as more advanced recyclers than themselves. "They're surrendering?" a crew member asked in disbelief. Chen shook her head. "No, they're evolving. Just like we did when we faced our own environmental challenges. They recognize that we can help them become something better." The Galactic Council's representatives could hardly believe their sensors. Earth's garbage collectors had succeeded where the most powerful warships have failed, not through destruction, but through understanding and repurposing, humanity's greatest skills. The ESS Recycler's main conference room was crowded with alien representatives. High Counselor 6427 sat at the front, all four arms folded as they listened to Admiral Chen's presentation. The walls displayed holographic images of Earth's environmental history. "This is Houston Harbor, 2082, Chen explained, pointing to a picture of water filled with plastic waste. And this is the same harbor in 2095, after our first successful nanite cleanup program. Martinez stepped forward, adding, "The same principles we used there helped us understand your crystal entities. Earth learned the hard way that you can't just destroy environmental problems. You have to transform them." The aliens whispered among themselves. One of them, a tall being made of shifting smoke, spoke up. "But your civilization is so young. How did you develop such advanced recycling technology so quickly?" Chen smiled. "Because we had to. Earth was drowning in our own waste. We either had to solve our problems or watch our planet die." On the screen behind her, new images appeared. Earth's first space cleanup missions, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch transformation, and the orbital recycling stations that eventually became their fleet. "Your weapons failed against the crystal entities because you saw them as enemies," Chen continued. "We succeeded because we saw them as what they really were, cleanup systems that needed to be cleaned up themselves." Zix-427 raised one of their arms. "And now you can control these entities." "Not control," Martins corrected. "Work with them. Look." Outside the ship's windows, they could see the transformed crystal entities at work. Their once threatening blue glow was now a calm green as they systematically cleaned up space debris in the sector. They moved with purpose, breaking down abandoned ships and stations into useful materials. "We've helped them remember their original purpose," Chen explained. "And in return, they've taught us so much about advanced materials processing. Their basic programming is centuries ahead of our best recycling systems." A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing the complex code that made up the entity's core programming. Several alien scientists leaned forward, fascinated. "This is why we want to share everything we've learned," Chen said. "Both about our Earth-based recycling methods and what we've discovered from the entities. The galaxy needs better ways to clean up after itself." The smoke being drifted closer. "You would share such valuable technology, even after we dismissed your civilization as primitive." Martinez laughed. "That's another lesson from Earth's history. Environmental problems don't care about borders or species. Either we all work together to solve them, or we all suffer the consequences." Zix-427 stood up, their bioluminescent spots glowing with excitement. "The Council votes to accept Earth's offer of knowledge sharing. We will establish a galactic environmental protection agency, with Earth's conservation fleet as its founding member." Chen nodded, pleased. On her tablet, she could see reports coming in from across the galaxy. The transformed crystal entities were already making a difference, cleaning up battlefields and debris fields that had been hazards for centuries. "There's one more thing," Martinez added. "We'd like to start an exchange program. Your species can learn our recycling techniques, and we can learn your advanced technologies. Together, we might solve problems neither of us could handle alone." The aliens agreed enthusiastically. As they filed out to contact their homeworlds, Chen looked out at her fleet and the peaceful green glow of the entities working alongside them. "From garbage collectors to teachers of the galaxy," she mused. "Not bad for Earth's weakest fleet." 6 months after the crystal entity crisis, the ESS Recycler approached Earth's orbit. The ship looked different now. Its hull enhanced with a combination of human engineering and crystal entity technology. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge, watching her home planet grow larger in the view screen. "Message from Galactic Environmental Command," Martinez announced from her station. "The last sector has been cleared of hazardous debris. The crystal entities have completed their assigned cleanup routes." Chen nodded, remembering how far they'd come. What started as a desperate mission had changed the galaxy forever. On her display, she could see the statistics. 50,000 dangerous debris fields cleaned. 200 space lanes made safe for travel. 30 alien species trained in Earth's recycling methods. 15 new cleaning technologies developed. "Admiral," a young officer called out, "the student ships are requesting permission to enter orbit." Through the window, Chen could see the fleet of smaller vessels following them. Each one carried scientists and engineers from different alien worlds, all coming to Earth to learn about environmental management and recycling technology. "Remember when they called us primitive?" Martine said with a smile. "Now they're lining up to learn from us." The bridge crew watched as something else came into view, a massive space station under construction near Earth. Its crystalline sections glowed with a familiar green light, but this was no enemy. It was the new Galactic Environmental Protection Headquarters, built with help from the reformed crystal entities. Status report from the learning centers. Another officer reported, "All 20 Earth facilities are ready to receive the new alien students, and our human teams are prepared to begin their assignments on other worlds." Chen pulled up an image on her screen. The original conservation fleet, looking worn and industrial, nothing like the advanced ships they commanded now. Their garbage collectors had evolved, just like the crystal entities they'd helped transform. "Message from High Counselor 6427, Martines announced. "They're asking when you'll be ready to present at the first Galactic Environmental Summit." The summit would bring together representatives from every spacefaring civilization. They would all learn how Earth, the planet they once mocked for its environmental struggles, had turned those very challenges into their greatest strength. "Show me the entity teams," Chen requested. The screen changed to show various crystal entities at work across the galaxy. Some helped clean up industrial accidents on alien worlds. Others worked alongside ships to make space travel safer. Each one was proof that problems could become solutions with the right approach. A small alert flashed on Chen's panel, a message from the United Earth government. They were recommending her for a new position. First Director of Galactic Environmental Protection. "Look at that," Martine said, pointing out the window. One of the crystal entities was approaching, but instead of the terror it once caused, it moved with grace and purpose. It began carefully breaking down an old satellite, its green glow reflecting off the station's windows. "You know what this means?" Chen asked her crew. "We're not just the cleaning crew anymore. We're the teachers, the innovators, the ones showing the galaxy a better way forward." The bridge crew stood a little straighter at her words. Their mission had started with a desperate call for help, answered by ships that others thought too weak to matter. Now those same ships had sparked a revolution in how the galaxy thought about problems and solutions. "Send word to all stations," Chen ordered. "The new era of galactic cooperation begins now." And it started because Earth's garbage collectors dared to think differently. As she looked out at Earth, the growing station, and the peaceful work of the crystal entities, Chen smiled. "Sometimes the greatest strength came from understanding your weaknesses, and sometimes the best solutions came from the places others least expected."